Translations. After watching this video, I will be able to draw translations in the coordinate plane. So what is a translation? A translation is a type of transformation that we would do to a figure, and it's basically taking that shape or image and sliding the figure or image to a new location. And we could do this visually, looking at an image, and we can take it and slide it without changing its shape, but we can also do it with its coordinates. So if you remember in algebra, when you were plotting lines in the coordinate plane, you basically have your X and Y axis, and each point or each place on that coordinate plane has a specific ordered pair, and that ordered pair would be an X comma Y. So once you identify a point, you can follow the rule associated with a translation to move your image either left or right or up and down. So let's take a few examples. Here we have an image on the coordinate plane, and we want to graph the new image by finding the new coordinates of the vertices. The vertices of any shape, it's just the endpoints. So the corners where the two line segments meet. So we can take our image and we're going to do a translation 3 units to the right. So that means I'm going to take my M dot and I'm going to move over 1, 2, 3. That now becomes my new M, and I call it M prime so I don't get confused. Take my N, move it 3 spots to the right, and that is now my N prime. K, I move it 3 spots to the right. Now this is my new K prime, and I do the same thing with L. 1, 2, 3, L prime. And sometimes the images will overlap because we're not moving them in such a big distance. And now my red shape is a translation 3 units to the right of my black shape. Now you try. Choose the letter with the correct coordinates of the vertices after you do a translation 2 units to the right and 1 unit up. So we also can ask you to do a translation by specifically telling you how many units to move, meaning that I'm not going to tell you to go up or right anymore, but I'll tell you to take your X coordinate and add 4 to it, take your Y coordinate and add 6 to it. So I would take each specific point and do that. For my V prime, I would take -5 and add 4. I would take -5 and add 6. So my V prime would be -1, comma 1. And I would do that with each of the vertices. My W prime, I would take my X, add 4, take my Y, add 6, and I'm doing that specifically because that's what the rule is telling me to do. So my W would be 1, 4, and then I would do that with X. So my X prime, I would take -1, add 4, -5, add 6. So that would give me 3, 1. And that would be the vertices if I told you the actual rules. Now you try. Select the answer choice with the correct translation of your new image based on the rule given. Now we want to find the coordinates of the vertices of this figure given this translation. And now I'm only given an ordered pair. So when we're talking about translations, we are also talking about a vector. So a vector is basically what a translation is doing. And it looks like an ordered pair. However, sometimes you may see it written with the little arrow brackets. And this is called a vector, and it's used a lot in physics. So vector is basically telling you the distance something is moving in the direction that it's moving in. And that's exactly what a translation is doing. We're sliding that image, so we're telling you how much is it sliding up or down, how much is it sliding to the left or to the right. So the first number still represents x, so it's telling me that I'm not moving my x because my x is at 0. So because my x is at 0, and that represents right and left, I am not moving my image nowhere. My second number represents my y, and my y represents up or down. Because the number is negative, I know that I'm going to go down 1. So I'm going to take each point and I'm going to move it down 1. So that becomes my new w. That becomes my new v, my new u, my new x. And all I did was follow my vector notation, which basically told me move down 1. Now you try. Here you have a translation. Remember, this is vector notation, which would be the same as 4, 3 in these brackets. Identify the correct translation after you perform this vector.